So, hello everyone. I'm your host, Renata Ravilo, founder of ghostwriting agency that focuses on lead generation on LinkedIn and founder at Capostly, your ultimate content creation tool on LinkedIn. Today, we're going to deep dive in the topic how to master your personal brand and choose the right positioning, especially for the content creation on LinkedIn. Our special guest for today, Marta Rus, personal branding and LinkedIn coach for founders, wellness entrepreneurs, and also a writer and content creator in wellness and travel niche. How are you today?
I'm great, Renata. Thank you so much for such a lovely introduction. Very excited to be here.
Yay! Let's start from the basics. How do you define a personal brand and what it is for you?
Wow, that's such a great question. For me, personal brands, it's about how you make people feel, right? It's about the consistent impression people carry of you, what you're remembered for and known for. And it's also what people say about you when you're not in the same room. So I would say your personal brand is not just connected to the strategy, but very much to the feeling. And that is actually what makes a brand personal.
Amazing. I like the fact that you mentioned about how, like, the feeling, right, that resonates with the people. I wonder how that works in the online space, but we will deep dive to that as well. And if, for example, all of a sudden, or maybe it was planned for a founder that he wants to start building his personal brand, especially online presence, would be the first step of doing so?
I would start with a little bit of a self development activity, actually. So instead of diving straight into strategy, how do I make it work? I would actually encourage everyone to focus on their deeper why. Like, why am I showing up online in the purpose? My business, my personal brand that I'm creating, what is the bigger purpose that it's serving? What is the change I want to create in the world, and what is the life I want to create for myself, and how can my personal brand contribute to that? A- And I find that building from that sense, from a sense of your deeper why, that's what makes all the difference. Uh, because whether you're building a business or a personal brand that supports it, there will be days when our content isn't performing, or maybe we're just a little bit tired and fed up. So having that deeper sense of purpose, that deeper why, is really our northern star that guides us. So I would definitely recommend starting there.
That's a good one. Like when we, for example, work with the founders, we also define, like, let's say, a content pillars is something how you want to be seen in a year or so, because the personal brand is not going to build by itself, just, by existing. But if you put a strategy and structure to that, I think it's easier to achieve what you're looking for. And in general, I think it's really important just to be presented online, let's say, right? Or presented in public as well, because, well, I know there is so many great people out there that just doing their job, they're pretty good at their job. But nobody really knows about them because they don't share about their experiences, their expertise, right? And without, I think, this kind of publicity, let's say, it's hard to build a personal brand.
100%. Yeah, you want your personal brand to amplify your work and your message, right? That's where the magic happens.
Exactly. Do you think, actually, just out of curiosity, do you think everyone needs to build a personal brand?
I don't think there's such a thing as need or should, but I'll definitely say it's a huge advantage if you do. I mean, at the end of the day, your personal brand is an extension of you. It's your online presence amplified. So in a way, it's almost like getting paid for being you. So if you ask me, that sounds like a pretty good deal. Mm, It's all about tapping into that. It's about curating your online presence in a way that amplifies what's already inside and the transformation you're here to create. So it's not something you should do or need to do, but it's definitely something that will support you in your mission.
I agree. And how about, let's say, a shortcut? Well, as we discussed before, it takes a while to build a personal brand. But if you are in a rush, let's say, what will be your week by week breakdown if someone wanted to build their personal brand foundation in a month? And what would be each weeks focus on?
Yeah, well, I love that question. And it actually ties in so well with the current one-on-one program I'm running, which helps founders do exactly that, build the foundation of the personal brand in 4 weeks. And again, I cannot stress it enough. It's about foundational work because creating a personal brand is very much an ongoing process. But when it comes to the foundational work, again, we want to start with inner work, right? So a little bit of soul searching there. This is actually my favorite part. My background is in coaching, and personal branding feels like a very natural extension of that because I essentially see personal branding as a form of self discovery. So it's all about understanding ourselves a little bit more, like, again, what is that bigger why that drives you? What is your vision and your mission? Not just for your business, but in life. Like, what vision is your business supporting? What are your unique passions, the things that you really love, and how they tie in within your personal brand? Because your brand is not just the services you offer, right? It's the full spectrum of who you are as a person, as a human being. So I would say first we focus on that, get abundantly clear on what life you're here to create, what you want to be known for, right? Within the context of the personal brand. Like, if someone was to Google your name, what would you want them to come up? This is actually a really great way of thinking about building a personal brand. Then, well, week two, once we understood a little bit more about the foundation, the soul searching, this is when we focus more on your core offer and your services, and especially the transformation you offer. um, I see a lot of people, a lot of coaches, this used to be true for me as well, trying to sell on the methodology that they use, but really people buy the transformation, right? So, like, where is your audience right now? Where are your customers, dream customers now? What are they struggling with? And what transformation are you offering them to take them from a pain point to their dream result? So, getting really crystal clear on that, as well as on the offer you're running or the dream offer you're creating. And of course, with that, we can loosely say week three would come a deeper understanding of your dream clients, although again, this is very much connected to the offer and your positioning. So who are you excited to serve? I feel like that is so important, focusing on people you genuinely want to help. Who are they? What are their pain points? And what is their dream vision? How can you help them get there? Uh, and then your personality and your unique positioning in the market is what's going to make you the go-to person for that dream client. So really focusing on what sets you apart, what makes you unique, almost like creating this LinkedIn brand archetype. It's great fun. That part, I would say, of brand building. It's very creative. And then, of course, especially when it comes to LinkedIn, building on LinkedIn or any social media platform, really nailing down your messaging and your content strategy, right? So here we talk about content pillars. We look back at the question, from week one, like, what do you want to be known for? How can we break this down into content pillars that you're genuinely excited to talk about and share? Creating your post, creating a strategy for posting that doesn't drain you, and building, messaging guidelines that help you show up online. So I think that pretty much sums it up. And then, of course, also profile optimization and so forth.
Of course, that's I think most important part. But also, I liked how you highlighted that it is important, like to do like a right messaging, especially when you're focusing on the product you're selling, right? Because I did this mistake myself back in the days when I was focusing more on the methodology I'll be using solving the problems, but nobody really cares how you're going to do that. They just want to do the results, so like to see the results and transformation that you're going to bring them, whether it will be like sales, whether it will be like inner peace or whatever you're selling, let's say that. But they do care about how this will impact them directly rather than what you're going to put
A
them through.
100%. Oh my gosh, I can so relate. I've wasted so many hours like focusing on all the things I had to my approach. No one really cares, right? Just want the transformation.
Exactly. I also read your post about something very personal, and I want to lean it into that. The moment in Manhattan. You were crying in the bathroom stall, not from a failure, but the fear of losing freedom that you found, right? And how this clarity about what you actually wanted shaped how you built your own personal brand.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's That's such a beautiful question. Actually, it really takes me back down the memory lane. I mean, I was living in New York months after I quit my job to travel. I ended up there rather serendipitously, just for context. And exactly as you said, in that moment, I realized that what I truly wanted for myself was a life of freedom, a life that felt truly authentic to me. And back then, for me, that meant being able to work for myself and work from anywhere so I could continue traveling. So that moment for me was actually less about building a personal brand and more about identity. And this is really the core of your brand, if you think about it this way. So the personal brand came as a reflection of that decision. And in fact, I built my entire brand around my core value, which is freedom. Surprise, surprise. And around my mission to show others, especially women entrepreneurs, how they can create a life that's a true reflection of their authentic self, a life that's true to them, a life that's filled with, authenticity and calling, whether that to you looks like working for yourself or working 9 to 5, starting a family. It really doesn't matter as long as it is the authentic you rather than something that's been imposed on you. So really, I just find this to be such a beautiful reminder that your brand is never the starting point, like you are.
That's so true. And if we're going to the core messages, the question, how are you different, seems simple, but it clearly isn't. So, what processes do you use to help people discover their unique positioning?
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, again, I feel like I'm mentioning it a lot, but it is really such a core element of your brand strategy. Going back to self discovery, right? Why are you creating this product, service, the brand, right? What is your deeper why? What is your story? I mean, there is so much power in your unique story. Going back to what we just shared, that moment in New York, that's what really made me realize what my true values are, where I want to be in life. And all the little steps that took me to that point create a part of a bigger story that people can really relate to. So really tapping into your why, into your story, into what drives you, into all those messy human things that happen to you on your journey that make you human, but also make you unique. And once you get clear on that, then, tying that in with your methodology, things you want to be known for, your skills, your personality, who are the competitors in the market, and how can you position yourself there. But again, the beauty of personal branding is that it is deeply personal. So tying that in with your story, with the energy you're here to bring, with your personal mission is so important.
I like how you also focus on this inner why. And I guess you're familiar with this, I think, is Japanese approach of 5 whys that you need to keep asking yourself till you get to the bottom of actually what matters to you.
Yeah, no, that's a great practice actually.
Also, you say most people optimize for algorithms instead of humans. First of all, what does optimizing for humans actually look like on LinkedIn?
I would say it's about focusing on building connection first and then chasing reach second, right? So again, leading with emotions, that's what really helps you build real connection. And then that real connection will eventually translate into likes and engagement. It will start drawing the right people in. But if you focus purely on the metrics and forget about the emotional connection, that's where you're bound to fail. So I would definitely say connection first, and that's when the metrics eventually follow.
First of all, I saw you mention the featured section as your store window on your post, right? And what should people actually put there, and what mistakes do you see most often?
Ooh, yes. So the featured section on Instagram, yes. I love that you call it like a store window because that's essentially what it is. You can also think about it as your landing page, right? So whatever it is that you're focusing on the most in your business, let's say you're running an offer, maybe you want to drive more visits to your mailing list, which that should always be there as a part of your strategy, regardless, I suppose. These are the things you want to emphasize on your in your featured section. So whether it's a link to your current offer, your freebie to get people signed up to your mailing list or a discovery poll, I would definitely suggest that you list them there in the order of, which one is the most important, what is the number one action you want people to take once they land on your profile. I think I have three free items in my featured section. And the biggest mistakes, I suppose, it's people missing out on conversions by hitting content that, it's great to say, for example, pin your best performing post as a social proof of, okay, right, like I'm great at creating content that engages and possibly converts. That's great, but it's all about tying it in with your current business goals and your bigger mission to make sure that it actually provides maximum value. So perhaps you wouldn't want that post to be pinned as the very first item if your main goal right now is to drive, let's say, visits to your offer, right? You would maybe want to add it towards the end.
Okay, so if we talk about the feature section on LinkedIn, it will be the best to have like a call to action, right? To either maybe have a call with you, like have a free, I don't know, meet and greet, or like a maybe consultation, or maybe also drive to other platforms, right? As well, because sometimes LinkedIn algorithms are so unpredictable, and it's really great to divide, like your audience maybe into different sources as well, and maybe lead to the Substack, I don't know, email marketing, or maybe some other platforms, or even just subscribe to your newsletter. That might be more productive in terms of, using LinkedIn to the max than just pinning down the most successful posts.
100%, 100%. Especially building your newsletter. I mean, this is your audience that no one can take away from you, right? So I 100% agree. As much as I love LinkedIn, the algorithm is great. It's really built in a way that acts in your favor rather than against it. Nothing beats having an engaged audience that you have direct access to on your newsletter or a website that you have full control of. So I completely agree with that.
Oh, that's great. And how about the self-image that becomes your brand image? And when someone thinks that they're not expert enough, maybe not great enough, I hear that's a lot. Like, I don't know what to share. Like, I don't know how much experience. How does that show up in their content, and how do you fix it?
Yeah, that's quite a common issue, I suppose. And I guess the way I see it show up the most is this watered down content, right? So you're chasing trends, you're playing it safe, maybe you're copying your competitors instead of letting your unique story, your unique offer, your vulnerability shine. I think it's so important to show that vulnerable side of our journey rather than just turning LinkedIn or any social media network really into a highlight reel of all our achievements. That vulnerability is actually what connects. And the way to work on this, I suppose, would be to shift your inner beliefs first, right? So, working on your mindset, understanding that 90%, I think it is, of our thoughts are affected by our subconscious. So, trying to understand where those subconscious thoughts came from and are the fears and the beliefs that affect us day to day, are they really ours in the first place? Or is this something we picked up in our childhood and then working with a coach to essentially start releasing those beliefs. And with my coaching background, I can definitely recommend somatic work, which is really beautiful. It's all about connecting to your body and not just the mind, and really treating, um, you know, your self development journey, I suppose, as this 360 of deeper consciousness, mindset work, but also working with the limiting beliefs that show up in your body, in your physicality. It's a real game changer. That's something I'll definitely recommend.
Yeah, as I hear quite often, let's say a self-doubt, self-sabotage of founders that already, built a great businesses, great startups, great products, they still are in doubt. Like, I'm not good enough, I'm not big enough, whatever. And that's why we decided also to build in Compostly. There is a profile DNA where people could just input, their LinkedIn, and we will just present them how they actually be seen. There is a really, really great information about like, also self-esteem booster, let's say, about actually, like yeah, your audience, even your goals for the next 1 year, 2 years, and etc. Also your positioning, and even you can get some ideas from there for the content creation. So not to have this blank page gap, like a problem for you, and also stop doubting yourself about that you don't have enough to share. I think sharing is caring, and even if you are maybe not on the top top, because you're never on the top. It's always somebody's there, right? Upper. It's still really great to share because your expertise and experience will be more relevant who are like, behind you, to relate to maybe Elon Musk's success or somebody else, because they're just too far above. And it's really great to kind of share the expertise from step to step that will help others also to be seen and learn from your experience.
100%. And one thing I would love to add, I love everything you've said, is that you only really need to be 3 steps ahead the person trying to help in order to help them. You don't need every single certificate available under the sun. You don't need 10 years of experience. Like, you are good to go with what you have. It's just about taking action. And we build, confidence is built through competence, right? The more we show up, it's like working a muscle, the more confident we get. So
Amazing. And what difference do you see between posting content and building a brand? And how do you explain this to people who think consistency equals branding?
wow, it's a brilliant question. Yeah. The way I see it, content is really a vehicle that carries the brand, right? So posting content is a little bit like talking, but then building a brand is having your voice recognized in the crowd. I would say that's the biggest difference. So you can post every single day, you can be as consistent as you want, and you may still not have a brand. And why is that? It's because your content is just noise unless it's connected to a bigger mission. So again, your why, your vision, your energetics, how you're showing up, right? So it's about having this northern star that guides all your content, that guides your actions. It's about, every time before you post, asking yourself, right, well, is this serving my dream clients? Is it serving my mission? Am I posting about things that I genuinely want to be known for, whether it's my expertise, whether it's more of that vulnerable content? I feel like that always helps. And yeah, checking in with what do I really stand for? Like, who am I speaking to? What is my unique mission and message? Is it showing through in my content? I would say, that makes all the difference.
Amazing. And why do you think LinkedIn specifically is really great for personal branding? What makes it different, for example, from other platforms for building like professional credibility and more?
Yeah. So I suppose, first of all, I love that LinkedIn is going through this renaissance of sorts. It's completely changed the way that it used to be. It went from this boring TV website to a content creator platform. To me, it feels like one big networking event, right? And with LinkedIn being built specifically for credibility and for nurturing business connection, uh, the intention behind it immediately makes it a go-to, right? Because you can be posting on on Instagram or TikTok, and with their algorithm and with uh, the social media being quite saturated and the amount of people using it, it's easy for your message to get lost in the noise. I'm not saying it will be, but it's easier for that to happen. Also, what other platforms are missing is this intention, right? You can log on Instagram and you can scroll for cat videos. There's all the kinds of different things you can do on there. Whereas when you log on to LinkedIn, you know that every single person on LinkedIn is either there to sell or to buy, whether they are selling their service or themselves. So it's really a great place to be. It's, like I said, a one big networking event, and it's less saturated than other social media networks out there. So now is a perfect time to tap into.
Exactly. I hear a lot of people are saying LinkedIn is like, Reels in 2020 when they were just released and people were hopping on that. So I think it's really great time right now to actually become a creator on LinkedIn and be seen there, because it's getting more and more popular. Because I saw that the statistics in last year, out of 1 billion people that are registered on LinkedIn, only 1% of them are actually constant content creators. So only 1% of like 1 billion. So I think there's still a space for people. Uh, Also, what I love about LinkedIn is the text first platform. So it's not, you don't need to hustle too much to film yourself and do like this constant reels creation and etc. And also, it's not too short like X or let's say Twitter. I'm still getting used to it. And it just also, I like the intent, right, that you mentioned. It's like really great for the B2B and the lead generation platform. So yeah, I love that. And for, I think for me and you, it's also great to, for in terms of the business purposes, that we are actually able to help other founders and more people to be noticed and seen, because it's also easier. As I said, it's text first platform. Like we don't need to film reels or something like that for them and like do all the editing. It's so
Oh,
tiring.
well, no, I can so relate. I mean, I built my personal brand on Instagram first. And one of the reasons I love the LinkedIn so much is because it is so much easier to create high quality content that lands. It is just so much less time consuming. And I love that. And I'm really hoping they are not planning on adding like the stories feature there anytime soon. That's just my biggest fear. Like, please don't do that. But
Too much, because I saw that they attempted to adding this video feature, right? But I do think it's kind of failed, if I can say so, because I don't see much traction people are getting with their videos. It's still, I think, yeah, platform is more text related, so that's what I also love about it. It's great. And also, like, I agree with like, for example, Instagram and TikTok. If I go there, I really don't want to be, be sold to. I want just to, let's say, deranged, and I just want to relax and watch the cat videos or whatever. I don't want like one useful like video after another useful video, because I just came there to
oh my
relax.
gosh, yes, I can so relate to that. That's so true.
Yeah, and if we talk about the metrics, because previously, right, you also mentioned that one of the mistakes that like people on LinkedIn, let's say, doing are chasing the reach before they build the connection. So first of all, if we talk like beyond the vanity metrics like impressions and etc., how do you help clients measure whatever their personal brand is actually working? And also, let's say, what would be like return on investment on their building personal brand?
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's a important question actually. I would say, vanity metrics like likes or comments, that tells you who's watching, right? But what we really want to know is, are the right people reaching out? Are the right opportunities and collaborations and partnerships landing in your inbox? Are you attracting aligned connections? Are you networking? Or are you just purely focusing on likes? So it's about how the likes convert into messages, meaningful messages, may I add, in your inbox. So there's different ways you can track this. It also depends on your personal business goals right now. Like if your big focus right now for your personal brand is so maybe drive more visits to your offer, well, that's a clear metric there, right? It does not necessarily uh, tell you how strong your personal brand is per se. It may also be telling you whether the people you're targeting, whether the market is ready and interested in that specific offer, but it is still nonetheless an indication. So anything from, quality conversations, referrals, opportunities, like us speaking here right now. I mean, we met on LinkedIn, right? So really building that connection beyond just comments and likes, I would say, is so important. And then of course, looking at tying that in with your business goals as well. Although that is a slightly, I suppose, different metric.
For sure. I also think that it's important to do not only posts for the reach, right? Because there is a funnel that you can use for the content creation, right? Like awareness, so like conversions and etc. So I see the mistake that some founders are doing. They do, for example, create a lot of useful content. It is great. It brings traction, right? People are following, they're leaning, reading, and etc. But they don't even share like what they do or how they can be helpful, or like, how people can work with them. So I think this is quite a missed opportunity. So even though this, let's say, conversational posts do have way less traction, they actually make the most results in terms of the return on investment. For example, even last week, I did a post that was specifically more on conversion parts, and it got 5 times less impressions and engagement than usual posts. But like right after 1 hour posting, I got one book called for the possible, consultation services. So yeah, even though it didn't have much reach, it still brought me a specific possible client and opportunity, which I think is pretty great.
No, that's brilliant. Yeah. And again, this is a great message for anyone that's been building their brand on LinkedIn. Maybe they aren't getting as many likes as they want. Like that is, it's great to have that, but that is not the true metric you really want to be focusing on, right? Because there are people that are getting 20 likes a post and making hundreds of thousands a month, right? So it's just about finding the right balance between the two, I suppose.
Exactly. That's why, for example, we are focusing in our tool, like to make sure that it's more, let's say, marketing approach where we take into account your ICP and also take into account the positioning that you chose, the content creation, your experience and expertise to make sure to deliver the actual results, not only huge traction,
Yeah.
which, most people are going for. And also, like, if we, let's say, sum up what we talked about, right, about the personal brands. So, first of all, people should start with their inner why, right, to define like why they're doing what they're doing, what they want the personal brands, and so on and so forth. Trying to deep dive as much as they can to understand their let's say inner motives that will keep them going for a long run. Then we go through the positioning and the content pillars, right? Once we define this, and then we start also doing the contents and see maybe testing, like, right, what will be working, performing more, and then scaling. Anything else you would like to add to this?
Oh, I think you summed it up pretty well. What one thing I would mention is again, like the whole purpose of building a personal brand is that it is personal. So adding your personal story, your vulnerability to it is just so important. I feel like that is what really helps you stand out. You can have the most incredible content strategy, you can have your positioning unlocked, but if you sound just like everyone else, if your story echoes the same story of every other founder, you're not really building a personal brand, right? You're just repeating yourself. So I would say really tapping into that. It's a scary place sometimes. So act from a place of vulnerability, but it really pays off. And more than anything, it attracts the right people because your dream clients, they crave that authenticity. They want to understand more about your journey, how you dealt with the exact problems that they are dealing with now, because that is the ultimate proof, in addition to, your services and your offer, that you are the right person for them.
Amazing. That's a great add on. And if you could give only one piece of advice to founders or people who are just starting in their personal brand journey, what would it be?
It would be something I feel I've mentioned a couple of times throughout our conversation, but again, focus on your why. Like, why are you here building this brand? What is the life you're trying to build? Why is it important for you? And use it as a Northern Star that guides all your actions. Like, I love to, like, I've turned my why into a vision board. I look at it every morning. I use it in my visualizations because this is better than any strategy. This is really something that aligns you energetically with your bigger vision and makes showing up so much more exciting and aligned. So I would say start there and everything else will eventually follow.
Brilliantly said. So, thank you very much for joining us. And yeah, if you have anything you want to add in the last words before we go, you can just go ahead.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's been such a joy joining you and connecting. And again, a great proof that LinkedIn fully works. I suppose, yeah, one of the last things I would like to mention is that, you know, don't overthinking. Don't overthink it. Go for it. Your personal brand is essentially you amplified. And the most beautiful thing you can do is to share your unique talents with the world. So go ahead and do it.
Amazing. Ooh, a round of applause. Well, thank you very much for tonight and see you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Renata.